Right. So I want to start by welcoming everyone to this state of play. I am a firm believer that it's really crucial and important that the people who are at the heart and soul, that's what we put in the email, right? The heart and soul of this is you all. And it's really critical and important that as many of you who want to be engaged, can be engaged and are informed of what's happening, because at the end of the day, this is going to affect your lives. And we're here for you, standing with you. So I wanted to make sure to start off by saying that. But before I get too deep, I want to make sure that I introduce to you the team at the President's Alliance. As you know, the President's Alliance works really closely with the TheDream.Us. We've done conferences together, we've done fly-ins together, and this year, it really feels like, we're tied at the hip doing this work for you. As you know, the President's Alliance, and actually, I'm going to let Miriam talk a little bit about what the President's Alliance is. Miriam is the Executive Director of the President's Alliance. And so Miriam, let's take it.
Thanks so much, Gabby. And thank you so much. It's really, I'm so happy to be here with you. The President's Alliance on Higher Education and Immigration was started around 5 years ago. And the impetus to start the President's Alliance was really to support undocumented students, especially as DACA was under threat. Also to support refugee students and international students. So we're really focused on the intersection of higher education and immigration, and for undocumented students to support undocumented students' higher education access, student success on campus, and career equity going beyond campus. We now have over 550 presidents and chancellors who have joined the President's Alliance, and that means that they have actively, affirmatively joined the President's Alliance because they are concerned and supportive of undocumented students, refugee students, and international students. We're in 43 states, DC, and Puerto Rico, and as Gabby said, we are deeply appreciative of our partnership with TheDream.Us. We often say, while our members are presidents and chancellors, we are informed, we are guided by those who are directly impacted by immigration policy, by practitioners, and by experts. So your voice, your priorities matter to us, inform what we do. And let me also turn it over to my colleague, Diego Sanchez.
Hi, everyone. My name is Diego Sanchez, and I'm the Director of Policy and Strategy for the President's Alliance. Like many of you, I'm a former DACA recipient. I was an undocumented college student for many years until I was also benefited from DACA and eventually became a U.S. citizen last year. And Gabby and I have worked together for many, many years in the past. So I'm happy that we're doing this together again.
Great. Thank you so much, Miriam and Diego. So we wanted to start by just explaining to you what is currently happening. So right now there is 2 senators. One is a Democrat, one is a Republican Senator Tillis from North Carolina, and a Democratic senator from Arizona, Senator Sinema, have come together and are working on a framework that is hopefully going to become some sort of legislation that will be attached to a must-pass vehicle that would allow for protections, permanent protections for all dreamers. And one of the things that we have been very, very vocal, not just with our members of Congress, but our partners and others in this struggle and this fight, is that we want protections for people beyond those that are not just have currently DACA, not just that are currently DACA eligible, but all dreamers. And we are very pleased to see that the framework that has been shared publicly in the media includes about 2 million dreamers. So we're hoping that at the end of the day, that's the number more or less that we see in the final product. But it is a really good sign that our leaders have heard us and that they understand and know that when we're talking about this issue of undocumented immigrant students, when we're talking about undocumented people, that it really is more than just those that have DACA. So, with that, Diego, can you just give us a little bit of, what we're seeing and reporting as far as the framework?
Sure. So just big picture here, for all of us to be on the same page. We have about 3, maybe 4 weeks left during this lame duck session before the next Congress takes over on January 3rd. Right, so right now there is this thing called the continuing resolution that allows the government to be funded until December 16th. And the reason why I share that with you is because there are so many competing interests, so many different policies that different senators want to make sure that we address and that get included in some of these the end of the year appropriations packages, like the omnibus. You've probably heard of that term being thrown around a couple of times. So we're talking about different provisions, from like election reform to the National Defense Authorization Act that has been thrown around. There's so many different things that we are dealing with, which is what kind of creates just some of the challenges and roadblocks for us to kind of deal with this particular dream compromise. So it's not just a dream border compromise, right? We have to keep in mind that we're also taking so many other calculations in mind. So part of this framework, like Gabby shared, is, and what was reported out publicly, and we can share the article that this came out on, is that it offers some sort of pathway to citizenship for about 2 million dreamers. Also, we're talking about a large boost in resources to speed up the processing of asylum seekers at the border, including new processing centers and more asylum officers and judges. It also adds more resources to expedite the removal of immigrants who don't qualify for asylum. Those are some of the things that have been thrown around as well. The continuation of Title 42 of the COVID health, the restriction on immigrants applying for asylum until the new processing centers are operational, up and running, with the aim of 1 year cutoff. So these are some of the things that we are working with. Again, this is just the framework. This is most likely, there are going to be some additions. This is likely to change. The details at the end of the day are going to matter, because not only us, but our partners and some, of the senators care about how far we're going to go on border security, how far we're going to go with, how much we're changing the asylum process. So those are some of the conversations that we are having right at this moment, but just so you can get an idea, those are some of the things that are included in this general framework.
Great, thank you so much, Diego. So you might be saying, all right, what can I do? And you can do a lot. And not only you can do a lot, but we need you. Every single one of you is important in this fight. And we didn't get here just because, right? The same way we were able to win DACA because we had undocumented people putting themselves out there, doing walks, doing sit-ins, sharing their stories, working with faith leaders, education leaders, business leaders. This is the same level of energy that we need to do now to be able to get us to the finish line. So a couple of things. We want to tell you that using your voice is going to be key. So we need to drive in as many calls, letters, messages to the members of Congress. Right now, there has been a focus in key Republicans and senators, making sure that Tillis and Sinema know, hey, we're watching, we're supporting you, keep this going. We want to see this resolved by the end of the year. It's going to be key. If you live in states like Texas and Florida and New York and New Jersey, and even other states that you might not think are needed, like Oklahoma, Ohio, right? Use your voice and lean on your community. If you go to church, the pastor of your church reaching out, your professors, your college presidents and provosts and individuals that get to see you on a day-to-day basis, ask them to help you lift your voice up, to let these members of Congress know that this is something that is not just the right thing to do, but the good thing to do for the country. Share your story and how, if you have DACA, how DACA has allowed you and propelled you to be able to do the things that you're doing today. If you're working, if you already graduated, are now, a teacher, a nurse, if you are working for big companies. A couple of weeks ago, or maybe months ago, we had scholars. We had a scholar that she joined one of our calls and was wearing her Walgreens uniform. And I thought, oh my gosh, what if, the Walgreens company reaches out and says, hey, one of our employees can potentially use her work authorization, and that's not going to be good for us because we need her here, right? So make sure that you are reaching out to those that have employed you to say, look, this is really important. We need you, and I need you to use your voice. So the other thing is that we're going to share with you a Google form, and we're going to broadly share with others too that are part of the Dream.Us, both our current scholars and our alumni, to ask you to give us just a really quick quote about yourself and why this is important, so that we can use this in our lobbying efforts, so that we can put this out on social media, so that in our op-eds, in our letters, we can make sure that we are driving home the message that this is about people, this is about real human beings that are affected by this, and we want to put a face to it. So if you're willing to use your voice, if you are willing to, just put yourself out there in a small way, please let us know. There in the form, there is going to be a question if you want to do media. You don't have to do media. You don't have to talk to anybody, but if you do want to share your story, that's going to be very crucial for us to be able to use. And then I would say that the last thing is that there is a toolkit that has some talking points. So if you don't really know what to say, it's okay. You don't have to be policy experts in this. You don't have to get caught up in what's happening and the negotiations and stuff. At the end of the day, what we want to make sure is to equip you so that you are the moral center of this debate and this fight, and we don't lose sight of why and who we're fighting for. And then the other thing is just, if you need help, let us know. We'll make sure to send that information out to all of you, and we'll continue to be sending information on the Facebook. We'll be sending emails as necessary. We don't want to bombard you with things. We know that you're right now studying for your finals, and that is important. We know that some of you are alumni and are working, and I've had, like yesterday, I learned about a student that was saying, look, I cannot talk during this time because I'm at the hospital working as a nurse. And I'm like, that is your priority. That's great. But when you can, please engage with us, and we'll be there to support you and help you. So I'm not sure, we'll pause now to see if anybody has any questions. And
I cannot access the links in the chat for some reason.
okay, so is that something that is happening to others?
Can folks access the Google form? Yes,
Okay.
at least someone.
All right. Thank you, folks, for responding.
What are the avenues for this newly introduced piece of legislation to move forward? Great question.
Well, right now, like I briefly mentioned before, one of the two big avenues, one of the two big pieces of vehicles was the National Defense Authorization Act that recently released their language yesterday, actually. And there were a lot of things that were just not included in that. So that one we're subtracting. And then that leaves us with the omnibus, which is the appropriations package that we need to pass by the end of the year so that, we avoid the shutdown, the government shutdown. There's also have been conversations about, can we package this with something else? The reality is that the closer we get to the end of the year, the harder it becomes for this to be something like people they refer to it as standalone bill, right? It's its own package. I mean, that comes with all sorts of challenges in itself, just because it makes it harder for senators and representatives just to makes them more vulnerable. There's going to be a a lengthy amendment process and just for the procedural hurdles. Because considering all those things, we're just thinking that the most likely vehicle for this would be the omnibus. The package that everyone's trying to just attach all sorts of riders on.
Yeah, and the next question, I see, thank you, Diego, for that is, what are the requirements? So nothing has been written yet, but, we have seen throughout the years, 11 versions of the DREAM Act, other versions that include, the Succeed Act and other stuff that Republicans have, put forward as ideas. And more than likely, we're probably going to see requirements that are on the education front. So they will be asking for probably high school, some college requirements. There will be probably asking for financials, so making sure that individuals don't owe any taxes. There will be some criminal inadmissibility things, so on the character. So yes, be prepared. We have seen this since day one when the DREAM Act was first introduced in 2001, and those requirements more than likely are not going to go away. And because this is a framework that is coming from the Republicans, more than likely there are going to be some, pretty high thresholds, but the fact that we're talking about 2 million people means that, they're going to be harsh, but not difficult or hard for people to the threshold to get to. So other questions. So on the TPS DACA holders, that's a really important question. And for some of people that have TPS, depending on what the timelines and dates, they might be eligible for this and they might be able to benefit from this. So even though TPS holders at this moment are not part of the negotiations and are not part of the discussion, some dreamers who are TPS holders might be able to benefit.
Can I just, there are so many great questions. When should they fill out the Google form? By when? Is it ongoing?
It's ongoing. So as soon as you start filling it out, we're going to start, putting your stories and no worries, we will make sure that you know what's happening. So it's not just blindly doing it, but we need to be able to do that. And we actually, if this moves forward, just want to let you know that this is kind of like a day by day type of thing. We've been told that by Thursday, we're going to know if there is going to be a path forward for this. And if there is, then we're going to have to turn the heat up in the next couple of weeks before Christmas and hopefully before the 117th Congress ends. But, we want to put stories out there. We have this goal of putting 50 stories from 50 states, 50 dreamers. So we'll probably highlight one of you if you live in, a state that we don't necessarily see dreamers like Maine, Hawaii, Alaska.
Yeah, there's great questions. Also, the question of is DACA accepting new applicants? This doesn't impact DACA as the program. So this is really focused on the legislative action. And what we're talking about either has to happen before January 3rd or before the end of this current Congress, or it won't happen for the next couple of years, most likely in Congress. That's why the urgency is so great. Gabby and Diego, there are a number of questions, and one, first, will our immigrant parents benefit from this package? We're going to be talking about compromise. This is one of the difficult components.
So the framework is specifically focused on the dreamer population. So we're talking about folks with DACA and with a lot of folks that don't have DACA. Will it benefit? I guess in the long run, because there's a long pathway to legal status. If we were able to push this through, folks that are able to attain legal permanent residence and eventually citizenship through this package will be able to petition for other parents, for example, but this particular framework is centered around dreamers. On a scale of 0 to 100, how hopeful are you guys this will be this?
So I want to be completely honest with you all. I have been doing this work for now almost 18, 19 years. since practically I started college. And I want you to know that this is real, that the negotiations are ongoing, and we actually have we have something that we can move forward. But I am not putting my hopes up, because we have been here before. And, I think we have to be realistic to the fact that, a lot of things are stacked against us. And the opposition is very strong. The time is not on our side. It's just, there's so many different points and places that I can tell you, well, I just don't see a way forward. But here is the commitment that I have, my colleagues have, and that all those that are working on this have, is that we're going to work our tail off, our hearts off, to see something happen, because we understand the sense of urgency to get something done. And reality is that if we don't get something done, we're probably not going to see anything happening until 2025, maybe 2027. So the window of time to do something is now, and this is why there's a sense of urgency, and we need every single one of you, your employers, your college, university presidents, professors, your families, to get involved in this.
Great. Really important. Can undocumented people send the Senate formal letters? Absolutely. This is your chance. You can speak up, you can write letters, and we're happy to put in the Dream Toolkit resource, and Suzanne can put it in again. I think that, it has templates, it has scripts, it has TheDream.Us, has a call website that you can use. And by the way, I was writing this in the chat. I realized I was only writing it to hosts and panelists. We'll send you updates about the legislation, and we'll also send you PDFs of, let's say, the Washington Post and other articles in case you don't have access to them. So we'll commit to sending that out after this session. Here's another question. What's the best way to find out if our company is dreamer friendly? I work for Thermo Fisher Scientific, and they are huge. There are a few of us here in one location. I've been asked in town halls what our HR managers are doing to keep up with these laws, but you hear nothing. People have mentioned maybe we shouldn't ask in fear of losing our jobs if they aren't dreamer friendly. So far, I'm not sure who to ask. My boss is aware and supportive, but it's a global company of over 120,000 employees. I don't know how to approach HR corporate. And so I think this is such an important question. Also, is it legal, illegal for companies to fire or hire based on dreamer or DACA recipient status? And there are actually legal cases that they can't discriminate based on that. I would love, Rosa, for I think all of us to connect with you and to figure out how to connect with your company. This is really important, and this is the time to actually reach out to companies, as well as being mindful, right? You don't want to do anything that puts you in an uncomfortable position. And then there's another great question from Silvio. Is there any senators in specific we should target to support this?
So I would say right now it's everyone. There is a group of at least 10 to 15 Republican senators that we're hoping to be able to get. But reality is that at this point, even if you live in a state where you have Democratic senators, engage them and say, this is really important for you to support and move forward, and reach out to Republican colleagues to get this done. If you have a relationship with a House member, engage them and let them know how important this is. At this moment, everyone needs to be involved and everyone needs to be pushing forward. I do want to say that for those that are asking, for example, what should we say, or how do we know who a member of Congress is, or how do we send this letter? The toolkit has both information on a website called Remember the Dreamers that already has a template. All you have to do is just put your email contact information and it gets sent out for you. There is also the TheDream.Us/call that once you go to that website, you're going to be able to be connected right away with somebody in a senator's office or a member's office to make that call and say, hey, this is important to me. Leave a voicemail. They do tally all those things up. They do, make sure that they know. And the opposition is organized too, and they're going to be activating their people to make those calls and also say to them, we don't want this. This is quote unquote mass amnesty. This is bad. Don't do this, right? So we need to have the same level of energy and fire to get these members to support and do something to protect our dreamer population, our students beyond DACA by the end of this year.
And I'm so appreciative of all these questions, and I will say that we just came off a call with campus leaders and campus administrators, kind of asking them to take action, to advocate alongside their dreamer students and alumni. And so you should also, as Gabby, mentioned, feel free to reach out to your presidents and chancellors, reach out to peers, to reach out to their presidents and chancellors. This is the time for higher education leaders, communities, campuses to take a stance and make a difference. Were there significant compromises? Thank you, Pedro, for this really important question. Were there significant compromises to get bipartisan support? What is the opposition requesting return? This is a difficult compromise. And so, Gabby, what would you say?
So what I would say is that if the dreamer population piece is being paired with border security and asylum provisions. So, we don't necessarily know the details, but we know that, like Miriam said, it's going to be a very, very difficult compromise. And so, those are the three things that are being discussed right now. But we do have to go. We have another call that we have to get to. So please stay in touch, be engaged. All these resources have been shared with you all. If you want to use your voice, use that Google form, fill it out, and we will continue to update you and support you along the way. Also, just FYI, the current scholarship round is open. So let others know that they can apply to this beautiful scholarship that supports you, that we're more than just a scholarship. We're here to provide the support, and please stay in touch. Career supports, we're giving a lot of information about, those of you that do not have access to DACA, for example, or don't have work authorization information about, what you can do there. Stay positive. We got you. We got your back. And please make sure you're studying for your finals.
Yes.
Take care of those things too.
Thank
All right,
you.
everyone,
Thank you so much. Bye.